Lost media is a term that the internet dubbed when any piece of media, be it book, movies, television programs, video games, and even internet videos, are lost and not able to be either recovered or found. How this usually happens is simple. The powers that be at the time didn't think to secure or protect such media because who'd care about them, or an unfortunate fate would befall upon them outside of anyone's control, or some of the worst are collectors who think of the monetary value to hoard such an item, then sell it instead of dumping a copy for the public to see. This time we're headed to the not so distant past, the late 80s to the early 90s to be exact, with the lost media countdown of a few video games that, as of this video, are considered lost. BS Legend of Zelda is a partially lost Soundlink game for the Satellaview and add-on to the Super Famicom, the Japanese version of the Super NES. It was developed and published by Nintendo and distributed by Saint Gaia. It was a ROM hack of the original Legend of Zelda for the NES/Famicom, but with 16-bit assets. The Soundlink games were unique games broadcast over the radio to Super Famicom systems with a Satellaview expansion attached to the system and a subscription to the Saint Gaia radio service. Games in the service would be broadcast in weekly or daily episodes, usually 4. When new episodes were added, more and more of the game became available to play. All of the game's episodes were not permanent and would be erased at the end of the broadcast period to make space for new games or episodes. Soundlink games could only be played at the set hours provided due to the real-time narration being used during the premiere of the episode or part. This makes the games impossible to obtain in full anymore, as new broadcasts are not being sent out because the radio service has been shut down as of March 2000. Although having identical gameplay to the original release of The Legend of Zelda, a bunch of differences exist between The Legend of Zelda and BS The Legend of Zelda. The major thing, the graphics are 16-bit instead of 8-bit due to BS being on the Super Famicom. You can also play as the Hero of Light, a different person than Link of the Zelda series. The Hero of Light is based on the avatar from the Satellaview account system. If you choose the male version, your character will wear a white backwards baseball cap, while the female version will have a pink ponytail. The dungeons in the game are also in a completely different layout than the original, forming the word Saint Gaia, an arrow, and a skull. The plot is very different from the original Legend of Zelda and actually takes place years after they Link to the Past in the Zelda timeline at the time. The biggest difference BS Zelda had was the time system. At a certain amount of hours of gameplay, your character will get power-ups or become stronger in some way. Additionally, the player would also only have about 1 hour every week to complete 2 dungeons. Due to being a Soundlink game, BS The Legend of Zelda could only be played from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with the original airing being the month of August in 1995 and a new part airing each week. It had reruns in September, October, and November of that same year, and its last rerun for 1 week in January of 1997. Sadly, the only known dump of this game comes from the 3rd week and is considered incomplete. However, by using videos of gameplay from the broadcast period, fans have been able to recreate the final week of the game, well, except for the time and narration elements, of course. Animaniacs Hollywood Hypnotics was a 2D platformer / point-and-click adventure game developed for the Game Boy Advance by Full Fat Games and was set to be published by Swing Entertainment in 2003, based on the animated series Animaniacs. The story is wild just like always, with Brain's latest plan as part of his daily attempt to take over the world involves using the Warner Brothers water tower as a rocket to blast off into space and set off audio signals that resemble a barking dog. These signals would wake everyone up and cause them to start yelling at each other to keep their dogs quiet, therefore making a loud ruckus. While everyone is shouting and distracted, Pinky and the Brain would come and take over the world. Brain waits for Yakko, Wacko, and Dot to do their daily habit of jumping out of their water tower. After they are gone, Brain sets up some speakers and hides them all over the studio. These speakers create hypnotic sounds that put everyone in the studio into a trance and also make the studio's actors think that they're the character that they're playing, therefore stopping them from interfering with Brain's plan. He instructs Ralph, while he's hypnotized, the fat, incompetent studio guard, to block the entrance to the water tower to keep the Warner Trio out. Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, however, are not affected by the hypnotic sound, and they are confused as to why everyone is acting so strange and why Ralph won't let them back into their water tower. They end up discovering one of the speakers emitting the hypnotic sounds and decide to find the speakers and release everyone from their trances. The game appears to have been a platformer / point-and-click adventure game with visuals similar to the SNES Sega Genesis Animaniacs game. Players would have to collect various items placed throughout the levels and use them to solve various puzzles, such as helping Mindy escape from a jail cell by using using a sheriff's key. The levels themselves would have been themed around various movie parody locations, with examples including Wild West, gangster, space, and pirate themed sets. Various characters, both original and Animaniacs characters, would be present in these levels, either to serve as enemies or to interact with to solve puzzles. The release of the game, along with another Animaniacs game titled Animaniacs Hollywood Hijinks, was cancelled when Swing Entertainment became the subject of an insolvency procedure on February 11, 2003. But whereas Hollywood Hijinks eventually received a new publisher and was released as Animaniacs The Great Edgar Hunt, Hollywood Hypnotics remained unreleased, and as of 2023, the game has yet to see the light of day in any format. Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood was the working title for a Beavis and Butthead video game previously called Beavis and Butthead in Hollywood. It would later be renamed into just Beavis and Butthead in a February 1999 review on the game that was developed by GT Interactive and New Level Software Inc. for the PlayStation 1. The game was frequently advertised in monthly gaming magazines from 1998 to 1999 and even was previewed at E3 1998. Unfortunately, the game mysteriously went under the radar and was never released. The earliest known information about the game is that it premiered at E3 1998, which took place from May 28th to the 30th, with a video uploaded in 2014 from said E3 that contains the footage of the game, or rather footage of an early build of the game. The game itself, which still had its previous title, Beavis and Butthead in Hollywood, featured early models of Beavis and Butthead taken from the original show and had early walkie animations, HUD, and unfinished renders of the area that the game took place in. October 1998, the game was featured in both the Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine's 114th issue and the Game Informer magazine's 66th issue. Both magazines featured images of the game with updated builds of the characters and areas. In the 114th issue of the Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine, the game is revealed to be an action-adventure video game. The game was going to be titled Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood instead. Game Informer listed the game as 80% complete and was set to be released in November of 1998, when giving new info a month after the issue hit the stands. They also included that you can control both Beavis and Butthead in the game manually. November came and went with nothing, or even a sign of a release for that matter. It wouldn't be until 3 months later that we would see some more information about the game itself, when the Electronic Gaming magazine once again included it in their February 1999 issue of their magazine run. This time the game's title was just Beavis and Butthead instead of Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood. The game featured small stage areas with a series of puzzles to solve, and you do need to control both characters at certain points in the game, such as to lure and manipulate objects to solve the current problem at hand. The game was reported that it still managed to give the same Beavis and Butthead humor from the original show, such as the boys abusing themselves as much as possible. One thing that is contradicting and strange, however, is that this February EGM issue listed the game as 40% complete and was set to be released on February of 1999, a month or so after this issue got published, which is contradicting to the Game Informer's October 1998 issue, which listed Beavis and Butthead Do Hollywood as 80% complete and to be released on November 1998. Since then, February 1999 came and went, and the game never released. No information has ever resurfaced since then. With limited information about the game itself, it is unclear what exactly happened to the game itself and how close it was to actually being finished. As of 2023, only videos and screenshots of the game exist online, and no builds of the game have been dumped and remain very unlikely to resurface. Crash Team Racing, not to be confused with the 1999 PlayStation racing game of the same name, is a cancelled game that was for the PlayStation 3, Wii, and Xbox 360. It was developed by High Impact Games. The arcade racer was cancelled by Activision and reworked into DreamWorks Superstar Karts. In 2009, Radical Entertainment started working on Crash Landed, a new major platformer, and a reboot to the series. To accompany this reboot, a sister game was being developed concurrently by High Impact Games, a studio composed mostly of ex-members of Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games. CTR was cancelled when Activision had the big brand idea to lay off the entire development team of Crash Team Racing in 2010, and no development build has ever surfaced. Banjo-Karting, also known as The Fast and the Furious, was a prototype for the Xbox 360 that was made before the release of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts in late 2008. The prototype was built upon the racing parts of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. However, in the early 2010s, Microsoft ordered Rare to shift to full-time Kinect projects only, which led Banjo-Karting to be cancelled. One of the cars designed for the prototype was used in the 360 version of Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing for Banjo though, and concept art for the game is also available online. As of 2023, no builds of the prototype have been leaked online and no gameplay is available. That should do it on this edition of Lost Media Video Games. Leave a comment below on what other types of lost media I should look into. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time in a new video.